KCCA FC, and no better person to speak about KCCA FC than Agri. You should have seen Agri's look like, you say that? Agri, good to have you. Good evening and welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I don't know when I was last here.
I don't know.
A couple of years.
Oh.
But yeah. Yes, I am happy to be here with you.
All right.
To discuss football and my club.
KCCA.
Yeah.
Will always be your club, right?
I have life membership, so I can't change that.
Okay, let's get into it. First of all, the moment we announced the guest, the first three comments pointed to, when Agri stepped away, he's not been so much around us, which made me think those were KCCA fans. They were saying, what has he been up to? So for those watching and think, I don't know what they mean by that, because they made it look like you were closer than they feel you are to the club now.
Well, then I was in leadership. Now I'm a fan.
Just walking to the stadium.
So I come to watch games like everyone else. Yeah. And I partake of what our leadership gives us. So I can't be more closer than that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So before I hand you over to the judge,
I have a request.
Please.
You'll just pick it from there. I just want to know, Agri, before you get into every other thing, when did you start becoming a KCCA fan? I really want to know that. Then you can take us, like,
out of curiosity.
Out of curiosity. At what point did you become a KCCA fan?
Probably age of 6, so I'll say all my life
now
I've
check
been
this
yellow.
special expression.
And I've been around football all my life.
At 6.
So yeah, you could say football is my drug and KCCA has been my dealer.
Okay.
Oh wow!
And by the way, as a KCCA football fan, there are so many things that probably Agri and his peers have done that probably people will never get to know. One of those that I was able to experience was him as chairman of the football club. When we got entangled or involved in probably one of the most controversial transfers of Ugandan football in the last decade that involved Shaban Mohammed. People don't know that the man who was making the moves behind the scenes when the cameras are not watching, but in his capacity as chairman and probably as a football fan, he made sure Shaban Mohammed stayed at Lugogo when FUFA released him from Onduparaka, and the Vipers were badly looking for him the entire night, trying to sign him, but he did what he had to do as a leader at the time, and probably also as a football fan, to make sure that Shaban came to Lugogo.
So our apologies, Gisrin, please take over again.
Our apologies. Just to get the conversation rolling, Agri, from when you were closely part of KCCA and from where you sit now as a fan, in your own words, looking at what is happening years on, no trophy, no nothing, and like the KCCA that we knew, what do you make of what is going on at KCCA from where you sit or stand as a fan?
I think I share the frustration of every fan of KCCA, seeing that we are not at the top. A club of our stature must always be at the top, or at least competing for honours every single season. Pointing to why we are where we are and probably what it is that we did before. Remember, this club is now almost 64 years, 13 trophies. It means that there were so many things that did not go well. It's not just because of these current 5 years, but so many years. I remember I think after our 97 trophy, we took, the next trophy was 20, not 11 years. Yeah, it was in 2018. No, yeah, 2008.
11 years. Yeah.
KCCA's first league title arrived in 1976.
Let's go. We'll have that later.
So, about after 11 years. And
a hugely talented squad.
Okay, all right.
And I mean, the club was there being managed, but it got to a point where we are probably like 5 or 6 people watching the game. One of them, some of you might know, He used to coach KCCA FC volleyball club called, we used to call him Busomesa, but it's called Anthony Ndaula. So would sit in the Chirasha with a few of the fans who are currently still supporting the club, 5, 7, 8 people, and would cry into our water bottles, but eventually we did win. So these cycles happen. And when they do happen, the questions should be asked, what do we need to do to refocus, to reorient ourselves? And for you to be able to do that, you need to first be able to diagnose where the problem is. And when you are able to do that, then you can properly prescribe, whether it's Panadol, someone needs, whether it's Piriton, whether it's whatever type of medicine, so that you can be able to solve the problem. So in my view, I believe that the challenge or the issues are around probably 3 areas. And I'll speak to them briefly. So I think we missed a couple of them, and we did not handle most of these transitions properly, and we need to now refocus and say, what can we do to get back on track or to get back on course? One, or I'll just say this, there's continuity, there's stability, and then change. And these are things that we discussed before as a club, and we said, how do we establish that those 3 in no particular order, or sometimes in the right order, is that you need to connect the past to the present and to posterity. As a club or any organization, is that where are we coming from, where are we now, and what must we do to achieve what we should achieve in the future? And then stability. How can we be able to protect our gains currently as I speak? so that we can be able to use that platform to be able to succeed going forward. And then when does change happen and how must it happen? Is it supposed to be en masse or is it supposed to be incremental? So all those 3 have to work together for you to be able to manage transitions of a football club. Remember that before these last 5 years, we had been hugely successful as a football club. And at that point, we needed to start to ask the questions, what next? What must we do? How do we start to rebuild? What are the areas that we need to emphasize on? Who are the people we need to bring on board to carry us forward? And the people who have given us this success, the right people to be able to take us to the next level. Now, when you ask those questions, then you can find the solutions in there. Because sometimes the people who get you from point A to point B are not necessarily those who will take you from B to C. So you need to ask those questions and then be broad enough, rather brave enough, to be able to push the boundaries and make the tough decisions and the decisions that matter for the success of the football club. Because at the end of the day, a fan like me or anyone else out there who is listening to us, their only takeaway is the success of the football club. Is the ability for them to go and start bragging rights against any of their rivals. They do not benefit from the club, they actually contribute money to the club. So if you take away that from them, then it becomes a very big challenge, unless someone is a pure loyalist, for you to be able to keep the fan base. You could keep the fan base if you're not winning things, but you're competing for things. But if you also fall out of the competition and you go into participation, then we have a big challenge with keeping the brand where it is supposed to be, keeping the footballers where they're supposed to be, and that continued lack of competition or winning honors also has a knock-on effect on the quality of, 1, the people you attract into leadership, 2, the kind of players you attract into leadership, and 3, the amount of revenues or top line that you attract in terms of sponsorship for the football club. So that whole ecosystem, you must be able to understand it for you to be able to make the decisions that allow a club to be able to consistently perform at the highest level.
Wow. That was quite some lecture. Brilliant. Thank you.
It's my perspective as a football fan.
Yeah, and it's rich. It's quite rich. For those who just stop at the results, when you break it down into those areas, it shows where you sit, both as a fan and at the board. Now, for me, mine is quite simple. before these 5 years, we're talking of 5, 6. 2015, when Mike came in, Mike Mtebi, 2015, 16, all the way to 2019. I mean, you treated Ugandans to some football. Raw talent coming through, young players trusted, playing all the way, CAF Champions League group stages. KCCA was, if they didn't win a title, you'd wonder what has happened. But now, I'm not sure many wonder. So then there was a bit of there was synchronized effort. The synergy was strong between the club, both at the management of the club in terms of coaching, the board, and the authority. I felt the authority let the people at the club run the game, and I also felt the coaches had some sort of independence, and everyone trusted the other. That, in a way, you talked of not planning for the change. That, in a way, when it ended, it was hard to recover KCCA. I mean, we've gone through coaches. There's been a point where the fans feel the club and the authority don't understand what the fans want. We are just from the whole league format issue. There's a lot of disconnect, not just on the pitch, but also in the hierarchy of management of the club. Do you feel the same?
Well, for now, I'm not part of leadership.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that success in any organization, and not just for a football club, is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work, and what people eventually see is that they always imagine that things are easy. So when things are working well, or when something is succeeding, everyone imagines that anyone who can step in can actually be able to do the work. That is never the case, because the amount of work that actually goes into the back end is the most important and is the most difficult. So you're talking about the three stakeholders. To get alignment for the three stakeholders is a lot of work, because the mandates are quite different. The authority mandate is different from the board, is different from the aspirations of the manager and his team. Now, you need to have alignment across all those three. And what does that mean? Is that there has to be a lot of lobbying, there has to be a lot of engagement, there has to be a lot of aligning of minds, so that at the end of the day, everyone's contributions are all focused onto the success of the outcome. Now, usually, and for me probably where I work, is that one of the indicators that something is not going well at my place of work is when a complaint reaches me from my team. Is that it already shows that all the failure points or all the areas where the problem should have been solved have not done their job. So by the time it gets to me, it means, so it doesn't matter what the team member is going to tell me or what they are doing. For as long as it has come to me, it means that there's a problem. So for a football club, the moment results are not happening, the moment fans are complaining, it technically means that there is a challenge. And we must be brave enough to look at what the problem is and try to solve it. Whether there is alignment now, I cannot speak for, because I'm not part of leadership, but like I said, is that for success to happen, there are so many things that need to be put in place, and sometimes they could all be right, and you still don't achieve success. But you cannot achieve success if they are not right. And that is the cardinal rule, is that all the back-end work must be possible, must be aligned for you to be able to achieve success. And I'll explain to you why it is important for a club that is unique in nature, like KCCA, which is governed 100% owned by the authority. You have a hybrid board that has funds representatives, people who don't work in the authority and those who work in the authority.
Agents.
And then you have coaches who are purely technical and players who are there to do a job. And while I was there, some of these challenges I did face. So there is the authority side that imagines that people who are dealing with football really are not intelligent enough to know what they are doing, which is completely wrong. Whereas a few years ago, probably that was the case. It's not the same nowadays. So that misalignment is also a big challenge. Is that when you're speaking to them, sometimes they do not appreciate that you know what you're doing, you're qualified enough to speak intelligently about a subject that you're passionate about, you understand, and you know how to deliver results. And what it is that they expect from you. Two is that then you have the players. And this is something that probably we always underlook, especially in leadership, is that players are intelligent enough to know that the atmosphere under which I would like to play is not right. Is that the people who are probably leading me are not correct. Or the people that I would want to play for are not the ones. They will feel it. And it happens everywhere. It's not just Uganda. Even globally. You'll find a player is choosing between Club A and Club B, and the reasons that they do is not usually monetary. It is either because the manager is a person that they do respect, or the leadership is one that they respect, or both. Not just the brand of the name of the club or this, or how much they're going to earn. And also the idea that if they play at a certain place, this is what they would get in terms of personal achievement, besides the monetary achievement, and the career path. So every time there are changes, or every time there is leadership changes, is that it also impacts. You see, football is not any different from any other market. And if you look, for example, at, we've just gone through an election, for example. So if you look at Uganda and the election, and you look at the tension that was between December and after the election, people holding back investments, people traveling out of the country, others saying, I can't do this, let's wait until the election is done. That is market response to the decisions that people are going to do for an election day into a leadership. So they decide that if it's Andrew or Clive that is coming into leadership of the country, I will say Uganda, what do they stand for? What is it that they want to do? What is the agenda? Is it a place I can be able to put my money? Yes or no? Or let me wait and see how they will start their leadership journey, and then I can decide to invest. That is market speaking to you. So football is not any different. So if there's a change anywhere, is that players, funds, sponsors, they also sit
and
watch, wait, or believe in you, and then they can work alongside you. So it's important that when some of these things are happening, is that decisions that are done affect a larger ecosystem and contribute to the outcome or the success or failure of an organization and football club.
There's something you've mentioned. Of course, everything rotates around leadership before it trickles down. Before the formation of the authority, the city had the Lord Mayor. I don't know when it was decided that the patron of the Lord Mayor, rather the Lord Mayor of the city should be the patron of the football club. But also the election of Barimwezi as the mayor of Kampala has also been welcomed by mixed reactions. Some people are happy that the football club is going to have a new patron. Others are sad that probably Lukwago is going away, who is also, by the way, staunch KCCA FC fan. Just try to help us understand, before the formation of KCCA, of the authority, how much influence did the Lord Mayor have on the football club then, but also how much influence did the Lord Mayor have on the football club after the formation of the authority? But also, do you believe that probably those centers of power, in a way, you could say, affect the performance of the football club?
I don't think I'm intelligent enough to speak on behalf of the authority and what it is that gives power to a specific office. But what I can say is, at the football club side, is that the appointments, at least for those that happened, they go through the council. I think names are recommended from the ED and different stakeholders. They go through the council for approval. And when they get approved, then the body is done. Prior to that, the ED, that time it was Jennifer, is the one who did the appointment to the board. But currently, as it is now, is that the names have to be seconded to council. Council passes a minute, is it a resolution, and then the board comes into formation. Regarding who gives power to what office, I think that I'm not a part of KCCA, so I can't speak for it. But in terms of the dynamics, like I explained to you, is that yes, the dynamics, anywhere that you'll have 1, 2, or 3 people in any environment, there will obviously be politics around decision making, politics around power and its distribution. And in my view, just maybe briefly, is that what is politics? Because we speak about it and its effect on a club for a game that we do love. My view is that politics is really about power and its distribution. And for me, it doesn't matter where that power and distribution dynamics happen at the authority. For as long as you've been given the responsibility to run the football club, now that for you is your obligation to create success there. And that's where I would want us to have the conversations regarding whether how the board gets formed is important, and how the board gets formed can be able to drive the success of the club. I think for me the hybrid is good, whether it's appointed by the patron or the ED or the council, for me it doesn't matter. What matters to me is that the people being tasked with the responsibility must, 1, be able to do the job, or 2, are assumed to have the ability to do the job. But either way, the job always must get done. And must get done when you've given 100% of what obligation or commitment that you have to give to the club. If you succeed, fantastic. If you don't succeed, at least you will not have regrets that probably I would have done this or done that or done that to achieve that success. The coming in of the new Lord Mayor also points to the last point I'd raised, is that it has an effect on the market. I've not followed a lot about what his agenda is, but a few of the things that I've seen him speaking about was on infrastructure, I think largely about Kampala. And for me, I think if sport or football is not part of the agenda, or the club is not part of the agenda, the current board must have the mandate to go and have an engagement with him to make sure that the club is part of his agenda for the next 5 years. And if it becomes part of the agenda and a priority for it, then it will receive the support that is required for it to be able to succeed. They should not wait in any way, because I think the government's change in May, if I'm correct. So there's about 3 months to do all these engagements, to make sure that they bring him on board. He understands what the football club is, not just to the city, but to the people of the country, in terms of employment, in terms of entertainment, in terms of revenue generation, in terms of opportunities for players. Because for me, that's very important, is that if someone comes to you and they're playing for you and they feel they have a future in football, you as a leader are obligated to create the pathway for them to be able to succeed in that vocation of theirs. So this they must engage with the Lord Mayor, the new one, Balimwezo, and make sure that he gets it onto his agenda so that it can receive, 1, the political support, 2, the funding, but also the technical support for the club to have the ability to achieve its desires.
Andrew earlier on mentioned something. There's that tenure he mentioned, the glory days of KCCA FC, I think between 2015 and 2019, or or stuff like that. And those were the days of Mike Mutebi, those were the days of Jennifer Msisi, those were the days of Julius Raymond Kabugo, and of course the outgoing Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago. You were part of the board, first as a board member, then at one time as a vice chairman, then you eventually took over as a chairman when Julius Kabugo walks away. But also during that period, so many people have so many nice things to say about Julius Raymond Kabugo, and this is where I want to ask you that as a leader at the time, what made this gentleman so special that probably was able to align everyone, which in a way impacted how the football team performed during that time?
So, so Julius, I think, did a fantastic job. One, on the back end, making sure the alignment between the politics, the technical function, and the board was well oiled and well aligned to make sure that they are all pushing in the right direction. And that is one of the hardest things when you're managing a club like ours. Because like I've told you, I've been around this club for so many years, So I understand the nitty-gritty of why we've been failing in most cases. And largely it is because of that alignment. It has always had a big challenge, very huge challenge. And then two was that, because for me, coming onto the board, he's the one who chose me. He appointed me because I was around the club, obviously, doing a couple of things and supporting, because Mike is a good friend of mine, so we were supporting at that time, and he chose me. Probably thinking that I would be able to add value, which I think I did. So the second bit about him was that he was good with identifying the correct people to do the work. And for me, one of the things of a good leader is the ability to be able to appoint the right person for the right job. Where meritocracy is the go-to option. It's not about omuntu wa mupira, he's been around the game. No, it is meritocracy. Can you be able to do the job? Yes, the opportunity is there for you. So choosing the right people, one is a good skill, but also two is a good trait of a leader, which Julius was. Because for those who know me very well, I'm also not very easy to manage. I may not be aggressive, but I hold very strong views, extremely strong views. And,
True.
So very many times we did disagree, but he was good enough to know that I come from a good place, and he also comes from a good place. Sometimes we would agree, sometimes we wouldn't agree. But you see, that ability of a leader to be able to bring on someone who can challenge him, who can oppose him, and they continue to work together is not a common trait across leadership. And this is one of the reasons, actually, in football, in the industry that we are in, the reason why our game has stagnated. Because for everyone who has gravitas, everyone who has an opinion, everyone who can be able to stand their ground will either be phased out or be labeled as the person who, what do they call them?
Bring
in Luganda.
I'm sorry, I can't help.
that phrase is common around football.
And for me, I keep asking, what do you mean Walzungu? And I'll tell you, maybe a few people know. So before I joined the board, we had come up with a couple of proposals with Mujib at that time, because it was close. He was a player, but he was close to the club. And we had a couple of ideas we wanted to bring to the club. But every time we brought them to leadership, the one thing they would say, but I was happy that I got the opportunity to get onto the board and be able to apply most of the things that I thought the club could actually do. And they did. And they happened, and success happened. So it is not rocket science. It's that the things that other people can do, we can also be able to do, and we can actually be able to achieve the success that is required. So coming back to your question, is that Julius had two very good traits. One was the ability to create alignment. And obviously, two, the ability to go for meritocracy where it was required. And for me, with those two, it is very easy then to be able to achieve success. Because if you're not going for a political expediency, loyalty, because there is no point in someone, for example, being appointed into a position when their net value addition to a club is nothing. It is zero. But because of a relationship of here and there, you bring them into, it's just baggage being carried forward. And for me, there is no way our game will be able to improve for as long as we continue doing that and do not promote meritocracy in the areas that require leadership, in the areas that require boldness, in the areas that require transparency, in areas that require competence to drive success.
Okay.
And
okay.
Agri, you
Andrew, I want you to hold it right there. First of all, I forgot about Emanzi. Can you imagine? Emanzi, apologies. Apologies. Can you imagine? Emanzi, apologies. We need to get this break off. When we do return, Andrew, you hold it right there. We'll start with Emanzi, and then we'll come back to studio. So let's take this break. When we do return, we'll continue with the conversation because, we look like we'll need an extra hour, but no, we'll not have it. So it's time for a break now. All right, welcome back. You're still watching NTV Sport Knights. The reason I'm struggling holding this tablet and the phone is because your comments are so many, but we love them, all right, including the questions. I hope we'll be able to spare some seconds and, pick some of those questions and forward them to Agri. I think KCCA fans feel like Agri has the answers. We'll be
well, I have a couple of them here, and
you do?
So far they are impressed.
Okay. Anyway, so I promised that we'll start with the Manzi. So, Karim, let's have a Manzi. He's a KCCA fan.
Another KCCA fan.
Manzi?
Yes, please. It's okay to forget about me. I think Abra is representing all of us at the moment. Just looking at what he has said and the things that he brings out, it really tells you the difference maybe in the current team that we have right now. When you look at almost every department, that the most recent KCCA team that was successful was under Mike Mutevi, and you would say that Upgrade was part of that team. And one of the things that happened that has not really been happening in the last 2 years, you just need to look at the time that Mike Mutevi spent at the club, and at the club with full authority of managing and running that team. Whether it was recruiting of players, I don't think he would come in with a player that he has not recommended, and whether it was identifying the top talents, some of whom are now really dominating Ugandan football. You just need to look at that class that had the Alan Okelos, Julius Poloto, and the Mustafa Chizas of this world. At the time when he brought them, and maybe some people thought these are too young, so they might not be able to do the job. But he was bold enough, which is not the case with most of our coaches in Uganda. He was bold enough to trust young players. He was very good. You would say he had a good eye for the talent, even the experienced one. He chose some of the best players that we have in this country. I remember going to KCCA games, and you'd pretty much be sure that Geoffrey Serunguma is going to score a goal. And I think it all comes with the quality of the coach that you have, first of all, and the support that comes with it. You people talked about the authority, and I mean the new road mayor coming in. You have another executive director. I think you have to admit that luckily for Mike Mutevi, he came at the point where there's Jennifer Musisi, and I don't think we've had an executive director who has supported the club, all sports like Jennifer Mospi did. I know that the ones that came after have tried, but no one has been as big as Jennifer Mospi, whether it is things that we did not see that happened in the boardroom or what we saw at KCCA, the football club. I think there's a lot of support from the authorities, and it was very easy to see. That's why the success was really coming. That at the moment you talk about, you cannot ignore the politics that the new Lord Mayor coming in, it comes from the opposition, which is pretty much the same thing that happens in Kampala. And the honest truth is that with KCCA, the power seems to lie with the executive director. So if you have, I think you're better off having the executive director in your corner. And maybe that would get things moving. So I think Jennifer Mospi made a lot of things happen for KCCA, and we were able to see that success. But I mean, what we can't run away is the fact that Mike Ote was a very brilliant coach, and maybe we've not had that caliber of coach since Mike Ote left, but also the time that you've not had coaches lasting enough time at KCCA. At one point, you have the Portuguese. He starts the season, and a few games into it, he's fired. You have another coach after Mulu comes. He starts the season on a good note, gets to a point where he's not having a good run, and he leaves the club. And now we are at a point where you have co-coaches. Wherever that decision was made, I mean, those are things that, those are details that we have to look at and say, maybe the coaches were able to win with Vipers. Maybe you think that it is automatically going to work at KCCA. But it's, the club is at a point where, if you look at the last few seasons and you're losing your best players to your biggest rival, and that is Vipers. If you're losing Alan Okello this season, he joins Vipers and helps them to win the title. Osama Arafat was probably the best player at KCCA the other season, and he has also gone to Vipers. So that's where the questions have to come in, that if you are a big club trying to win titles, how come you're losing your best players? And these best players, it's not that they are even leaving the country to go and play professional football abroad, but they are crossing to your next door neighbors with whom you're fighting for the championship. So I think all these decisions have to be looked at from a bigger perspective. If you're a football fan, of course, some of the things you'll be looking at is, if Osama Arafat is the best player at KCCA, how come we are losing him to Vipers going into a new season? So you're fighting for the same title, but you're losing your best players to this team. So I think that is one of the issues. The other thing that we cannot ignore is that there have been improvements in some of the other teams that you look at. You look at the Express team that was able to win the title, that won the league and Sekafa. Pretty organized, had a big sponsor in there, had a good management team. You can talk about what happened after that season. I think that's a story for another day. But they had a very brilliant season and were able to win the title. Vipers, I don't think I have to emphasize it even more, because they are now poaching from their biggest rivals, and that might tell you the organization they have, whether it is the financial muscle. I think you can easily say that they have more money than KCCA, and yeah. So those are some of the things that we've got to look into, and I'm sure that the KCCA fans look at every season. When you go into a new season and you have Muhammad Shaban, who has been your top scorer, and you're not able to keep him, I mean, what do you expect to happen? It's very unlikely that you'll be competing with a team like Vipers, who we have to say have invested heavily. Even the Villa team that won the league, you just have to look at the investment in put in. the coach that they brought in and the job that he was able to do.
Okay.
So I think the story is very long, and you have the right man in studio to tell you that.
I worried for you because I could feel your pain. And you kept going. And I
over the weekend, so.
Yeah, and I worry that we're going to lose some of the crucial points that you've made. But one of the things I agree that Emanzi hits on is the continuous loss of some of their best players to the rivals and everything else. And I want to read these comments so that you can speak to it, because we did ask what has held KCCA back and what must change to restore the glory days. And Joseph Grace says, one, I don't know if I should read this, channel the energy and creativity they use in the jersey to the field. And he says, two, make money off player transfers. You can't be letting players across to your rivals for free who later go on to make money off those same players
and
that you grouped.
Yeah, and the question for me should be, there was a time when all the best players in the country wanted to be at Lugogo. It's not the case anymore. We lose players with too much ease. Where could the challenge be?
So I think, like I've said this and I probably I'll repeat it, is that markets react to leadership. So players choose where they want to go. Sometimes, or most often, it's not really monetary. Is that they want to play in a place where they feel, one, they can have a good career path, two, there's ambition, three, there is stability, and four, there's leadership that they respect. So sometimes the decisions are made with those considerations. For players who live for greener pastures, that is an ecosystem problem. Now, it's not a football club problem. Is that football in Uganda, I think even South Sudan, a couple of clubs can actually, we're the supermarket for the region. Why? Because the league commercially is still very poor in terms of pay, in terms of the value, in terms of the entertainment. So Kenya can buy from us, Tanzania can buy from us, Rwanda can buy from us, South Sudan can buy from us. Now that's a league problem. It's not a club problem. The decision of the player on where to go internally within the league is usually driven by the factors I've just highlighted. But for those moving out for greener pastures, they are usually monetary. And because no single club in Uganda can be able to pay the amount of money, maybe Vipers now can pay the same amount of money with a couple of regional football clubs. But they've also just lost Alan Okello to Simba, rather to Yanga, and for good money. So we need to look at also the league holistically and see how do we grow its value, how can we be able to move players from earning $100, $200 to thousands of dollars, so that we stop them moving within the region. Is that if they need to go, they probably have to go for $5,000 per month or $10,000 a month. Now that is going to happen, unfortunately, until the league can be able to grow its value and have the ability to pay its players. So what do you do as a football club? Is now you need to make sure that you're resourcing the conveyor belt, because you can't be able to continue leasing players because you can't buy. So you need to grow them, you need to grow them, you need to nurture them. And why you need to invest in the academy, and why you need to invest in scouting and make sure that the conveyor belt that keeps players going out can actually keep players coming in. And when you start them early, they give you more years than when you're buying, for example. I do a bit of instruction for the CEOs of football clubs on the commercial of football. So why would I spend, let me say, for argument's sake, why would I spend $30,000 on a 27-year-old defender than spending $10,000 or $3,000 on a 17-year-old boy? Because the 17-year-old boy is going to give me 5 years. By the time he's turning 21 or 23, I then can flip him on for more value and reinvest again. Than a 27-year-old who's going to play for you for one season for twice the amount and has no resale value. So these are also some of the things that we need for the people who are running the game to be able to understand, is that there are commercial decisions and then there are decisions that are made for technical value. But largely for a squad or squad development, it's usually a very big battle. And usually with the manager, I had Emanzi speaking about the manager bringing players he wants. Yes, that is correct, but players are not owned by the coach, players are owned by the football club. The coach has an input. You'll obviously argue a lot because for him he wants results, but as a club, you also need to look at the value or the return on the investment over a period of time. So you'll give him a couple of players, and then you'll also reinvest for those players that when the other ones are leaving the club, these ones are coming in. They may not necessarily be players recommended by him, but they will be players that the club thinks they have a future value. So there are a bit of dynamics there that usually go into building a squad, which is a critical path for the success of the football club. So, and Clive was saying here that in the break, is that winning does not happen on the pitch. It is all back end. No, it doesn't happen on the football pitch.
Kabela says the academy is not producing the youngsters like it used to. For example, the Alan Okello and Kiza Mustafas that they produced back then, when they played that video that had from the day when those youngsters were unveiled, everyone in here was like, woo!
You know, there was an aura.
February
there was an aura at that club.
Clive, what did he say?
17th February 2017.
Yeah. I mean, you look at them juggling in their suits. There was an aura at KCCA that made you want to belong. Look at that. Now, we are talking about the whole thing of Mike Mtabandor. I also have an issue with our managers as well, coaches. I'm trying to scratch my head of the current, crop of coaches. Perhaps the one I see is maybe David Obua. A manager must build themselves, or let's use coach must build themselves to the point that when they come to KCCA and say, I want this, I want it this way, I'll give you this in return, and this is the plan for 5 years. And actually, the club buys in, and then they go on to do it. Mike, beyond coaching, he had his own character, his own qualification, his own aura, and he had earned it over time, like him or not. So when he comes to KCCA, of course, he's lucky that the authority at the time bought in, the Kabugos came in, and then you have a team around him, whereby Mike said, this is my zone, I'll do my work, all I need is support from you. But we have coaches who can't even represent the institution in terms of how they live, in terms of how they conduct themselves, in terms of how they speak when they're speaking. So it's hard to...
Who's to blame? Probably we are just now trying to start another discussion.
No. My point is, the coaches themselves need to invest in themselves to be sellable. How do you speak to media? Yourself, how do you carry yourself when you're in public as a coach? Or when you come to KCCA and say, I want this and this and this is how I want to work, will KCCA even believe in you? So we don't have many Mike Mutebis.
Yeah, but maybe why the reason why you're also mentioning Mike Mutebi, and now people want to factor in the issue of the academy, and Agre here knows, probably can supplement, that what Mike did is not actually something that started with him. Yeah. Because historically, that football club was built on that foundation. What was the name of the academy? City Stars and stuff like that. But from way back, when you look at City Cubs, when you look at all the players, not all of them, but majority of the players that played for the football club are players who came through the youth structure. So much as the club would go out there and sign players here and there, they largely depended on players who came from City Cubs. Now it reached a point when City Cubs is no more, and KCCA FCs are probably under pressure, just like the Villas and these other clubs, to sign players who are around. Now, when Mike comes in for a third stint, by the way, something that people forget, that he had been there twice before and things didn't go according to plan, he goes back to what used to be done. Have an academy, but he was also lucky that he came in at a time when Abdallah Mulwan Company had started that, because FUFA had started the FUFA Juniors League. So it was easy for him to pick players from the academy who were really good. Some of them still at the football club, others have moved on, to integrate them into the system.
Trust them.
Of course, he trusted them.
Yeah.
And for me now, that is the problem I have with coaches today, and probably one of the reasons I fell out with a man I advocated for a very long period of time in Molevi Ekwaso. For a man who got his KCCA debut as a senior 2 student at Kololo SS to get an opportunity to coach a football club immediately after Mike Mutebi, and he didn't want to trust the young players who were around and went out in the market to sign all these other senior players around for success. I thought it didn't work well for him, and probably that was one of the reasons that led to his downfall.
Perhaps pressure, he was replacing Mike. He needed to continue.
Okay. I think I had been itching to get Agri to speak about the good days, because I think we rushed into, you know, the now, because you know, we keep speaking about the good days of KCCA. So what was the work like behind the scenes, Agri? I know you hinted on the fact that when things are going well on the grid, there is so much work behind the scenes. You did speak about alignment, but while you were there for the good days, what did it feel like, from, you know, the technical team, the secretariat at Lobogo, to the people at the authority? What was it like being in that environment?
There are no good days. For you to succeed, there is nothing that is good or happy. The people who actually benefit from the work are the people who watch the games. It is the fans. There is no good day. So no one should lie to you that for success to happen, the people who are doing the work actually enjoy it. Absolutely not. So if
It's
you ask
battles
me,
in there.
yeah, if you ask me, I will tell you that the people who can tell you the story is probably the people on the front line. Maybe Clive and the team, because Clive was there with us, because they did enjoy what was happening because of everything. But for the guys doing the work, actually, I don't think even Clive enjoyed, because he can tell you, would work late into the night, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., every single day of the week. So I don't think I'm qualified to speak about the good days. But for the people who actually were frontline, the fans, who really are the ones who give you the feedback that something good is happening.
No,
and we do enjoy it.
there are a few good days. I mean, that night in Ismailia when we beat Al Masari to get into the group stages of the conference, you were there.
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying, is that the moment we beat Ismailia, the next now you're planning what next needs to be done.
Exactly.
So for you, you're not enjoying.
No. The excitement is
short-lived. 1 minute
Almost
you're done,
non-existent.
and then you start to plan now. We have to do this. This is what we plan when we go back. This needs to happen. We need this amount of money. I'll give you a funny story. So when I left the board, I think last year, the other year, and I think 2 days later, the team was traveling, I think, to Libya. I slept. My phone didn't ring at all, because every time the team needed to travel, I think that is one of the hardest days within the football club, because you needed to look for money. Traveling to Libya, Morocco, North Africa, probably about 200, 300 million shillings. And you're the chairman of the club. You need to find a way on how the money needs to be found. So my phone didn't ring. And the club went.
You felt...
I was very relieved.
You felt free, yeah?
You didn't feel strange?
No.
So if you're asking for the good days, that's one of them.
Because when Agri mentions that, and especially the fact that there was no single day when you enjoy work, I'll give an example. At the last group game in the Confederations Cup, we are playing African. The result didn't matter as long as Rivers United and FC Rabat played to a draw, we would qualify for the quarterfinals of the competition. But while you badly want the football club to qualify for the quarterfinals of the competition, you remember all the trouble and struggles management is going through to look for money and you're like, of course the result will excite you, but you're like, you've seen these people literally struggling, looking for money left, right, and center. There are things that would happen that you will probably tell in our biographies or stuff like that, that people never get to know. And it goes back to what Agre says, that the 90 minutes is just the tip of the iceberg of what goes on behind the scenes for a team to get results. So while the fans enjoy the good days, the people who are having their feet in the trenches don't actually get to enjoy a bit of this success and excitement.
I have some pressing feedback from a KCCA fan. I'm sure you know him, Gideon, who had the restaurant.
He still has the restaurant.
He still has it, okay. Gideon, Agre is not a vice president or chairman. Gideon says, please ask Agre, if it is possible to amend some laws at KCCA to have a partnership with a private entity in club management. Some private people want to put in big money. Now yet to far with all these bureaucrats at City Hall. Now, finally, he's like, ask Agre, if requested, can you return to serve? We miss you.
I have that comment from Kim Brenda.
I think that's the most astonishing.
Let me answer the first question. So the first question, and is very critical of the three issues that I talked about: continuity, stability, and change. Where must the club go going forward? And what would be its future? And he raises a very good point. So, the last board that I was on, we already approved, or rather, approved and presented to the Lord Mayor now, Alhaj Arias Lukwago, about the diversifying the club. So that 30% can be owned by KCC funds. So that proposal was on his desk. I hope before he leaves office, he can be able to act on it. Because like Gideon is saying, there are a couple of other KCCA funds who would like to have skin in the game. Skin in the game to have a conversation around leadership, skin in the game to have a conversation around management, but also investment to move and push the club forward. And for me, I think the future of the club does not lie with the authority at all. The future of the club lies in the hybrid between the authority and the private participation, private money. There are a lot of people who are willing to put money into the club so that they can have a say within the affairs of the club, so that they can propel it to the success that it should be and where it should be as a leading football club.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, all right. Emanzi, are you there? So that, because I want to kind of pull Agre to also speak slightly about the league. He did speak about how, the league is not doing well commercially. So Emanzi, are you there?
Emanzi, one second.
Yes, I am.
Please make sure you, point by point, we almost lost all the points you mentioned earlier on, so make it snappy.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And I mean, I heard what Agre had to say about the players that leave, and pretty understandable if a player is going to the next stage. I mean, if you look at the move of Alan Okello going to Young, I think we all agree that it's a big step up. So if you're in KCC and a player is leaving for the next club, and it is within Uganda, I think that should raise so many questions to the powers that be at KCCA, and maybe what has to be done to ensure that you keep your best players in the club going forward. I mean, going into the new season, you would say that maybe KCCA would be stronger with Osama Arafat in there as one of their key players this season. But that is not the case because he moved on to play for Vipers, who are also fighting for the same title. And that is the point that I was trying to raise. As a football fan, I think it's very hard to look at another club and say maybe they have more money than we do. It's a bitter pill to swallow for any fan. And you think that KCCA should be doing a lot more, or maybe lower the expectations of their fans. But I think there's been a bit of stability. I mean, when you talk about the administration, for example, sport can be tricky because you look at the administration at the club and it's been a bit stable. If you look at the faces that are there, they've been around for a while. Coaches have changed, players have changed, but the administration has been pretty much the same. If you look at the last 5 or 6 years, I think you have Anisha as CEO leading a team, and sometimes you look at the coaches that they have and the players that they've signed, and you can't actually seem to place any blame on them, because they look like they've done their part. The coaches are there, they've asked for the signings have come in, but they've just not worked. So maybe if Agri could talk to the issue of timing or time for coaches, because like I hinted earlier, Mike Mutebi had some time and some sort of project going at KCCA. And I'm not sure that we've seen that with most of the coaches that have come after him. You look at the Portuguese, Sergio Trague, who was around, had a good preseason, started the season, and just a few games into it, he was fired. And the others that have come thereafter, they don't look like they've had enough time. So I would want to pick Agre's mind on what he thinks about that model. Is it KCCA being too hungry that they cannot wait or give coaches time, or is it that they actually appoint the wrong coaches and realize just a few games into the season?
All right, Amanzi.
Let me supplement, because the same question. Do they hire coaches not to just come and win the league, or the coaches come with a plan of, say, 5 years we want to achieve this, like Mike did?
Well,
yeah, but okay. So I just want to respond to Amanzi.
No.
Sergio lost 6 straight games.
You can't respond to Amanzi.
No.
What do you mean you want to respond to Amanzi?
see, the coaching position is a poison chalice. It doesn't matter whether you come with a plan. Like Mike Tyson has said before, that
Until you're punched in the mouth.
yeah, you will have a plan until you're punched in the mouth. So if it
Amanzi
doesn't
saying
work,
Sergio had a great preseason.
it doesn't.
Great sense of fashion.
If the results are not coming,
Yeah.
you don't expect the board to sit by and say it is okay, we are building.
Okay.
If you're competing, then it's a justifiable reason to keep you around and to support you, to make sure that you aim for the trophy. But if you're not performing, you don't expect any leadership or any management not to fire you. That doesn't happen that way. Unfortunately, with coaching, the conveyor belt is always in and out, in and out. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you won yesterday or last year, for as long as this opportunity has come and you're not winning, or the results are not coming, you'll be fired.
Okay.
So there is nothing like we have a strategy or we have to do. No.
We're building.
There is, yes, you will build if the results are coming. But if your plan, like Andrew is saying, you came with a plan, you're building, but the results are not there, you'll still be fired. Unfortunately.
What did Demaz mean when he said you can't sell to a team that is competing with the same title as you? Which title are they competing together?
No, you can't be wanting to win a league title after 5 years and you're letting players go to the competitor.
Ideally,
They what?
and the attitude,
Andrew?
the attitude
We are in
of
class.
a club like KCCA is that the best players in the country must play for KCCA. That should be the principle. Absolutely. If it's the number 9 that is the best in the country, it must be at Lugogo. If it's the attacking midfielder and is the best in the country, it must be at Lugogo. If it is the defender, it must be at Lugogo. And even if it takes the club to have 18 or 20 of the best players, even on the bench, so be it. And that should be the aspiration for any leadership that is at Lugogo.
I can imagine
Simple as
KCCA
that.
fans clapping for you wherever they
Simple
are.
as that.
And traditionally, that's how it has
Simple
been.
as that. Whether you have to break the bank, go and break the bank. But the players must be at Lugogo. because you cannot win anything if you don't have the best on the football pitch.
Agree. One more time before we get to the league. So how do things turn around for the better for KCCA, for them to have the best players at Lugogo, the best number 9 at Lugogo?
And you had the best, you let them go. We won't go into the Alan Okello story. KCCA fans now know better.
Well, I think for me, it should probably, the new Lord Mayor, one, must embrace the football club and understand that it is important as part of his agenda and priorities. And when he does that, then the funding will be available. We need to reinvest into the youth team to make sure that our conveyor belt is up and open. We need to continue to attract the best players in the country to be at Lugogo. Whether we are buying them at a young age or we are buying them at a slightly more mature age, they must always be at Lugogo. Coaching needs all the support. So a manager, and probably just to speak a bit about that. So Mike, fantastic coach, everything, but was difficult to manage. Now, for a leader, you must have the patience to also be able to manage a maverick for as long as the results can come through. Now, that is one of the things that is a bit difficult and dicey. So are players, by the way. The players, it's a difficult conversation with them. Usually all the good players are very difficult to manage. Now, what leadership needs to do is to create the environment that the head of the technical function, who is the manager, and the players can be able to give us their very best to deliver the things that we want. Sometimes you might have to bend your back over for them so you can achieve the results. So thinking, because this is a talent sport, or it's a talent industry. So for you to think that a certain player shouldn't do something, obviously there are no-go areas, or there are boundaries against certain things that they can't do, but then there are areas where you need to be flexible if you need to achieve the things that you need to achieve. So for me, I think one, meritocracy needs to return. Two, the alignment with the technical function, the KCCA. Three, funding, because without money, there's not much you can do for football. And then obviously 4, reinvest in the academy, reinvest in the scouting. Let's get the best young players back to Lugogo, and then we continue the conveyor belt. And we should see success returning in the club. All right.
When Agri speaks, you don't add anything as a KCCA fan. I'm not.
You're not KCCA. I know what you support. You shouldn't even be sitting here.
Goodness Lord. But
I support Uganda Cranes.
Agree. At some point you spoke about the league not doing well commercially. The league we are referring to, as of a couple of days ago, we still have a team that could only manage to line up 11 players, including a striker who played in goal. That's a team called Mbarara City. How then do we get such a league?
I think the league story is a bit of a long conversation. And it's something that for football lovers and for the leadership, and this is largely the function of the FA, actually largely the function of the FA. I just had a long conversation with the FA president end of last year regarding the issue about the league.
The format?
No, about the league.
Okay.
And what do we need to do to get it to where we want it? For it to be able to attract the money that is required, the players, the pay, the value, the brand, the players, the fans, so people can be able to enjoy the league. And I don't know how much time we have, but it's not a conversation that we can have, but I can speak broadly about 3 things that I usually refer to as the Trinity. One is football, the game. So as a league, to be able to drive value, we must be able to work on what we give to the fans, because we sell entertainment. So football, the game, is dictated usually by two people. One is the manager or the coach, and two are the players. Do we have the players, rather the coaches in the country, that can be able to deliver consistent, entertaining football in the league?
No.
I don't think so.
We don't.
They are not there. So what must we do? So the FA now has to make sure that they begin to tap coaches, teach, expose, send them for benchmarking, to make sure that every single one of them understands that their job is not just to win games, their job is to display, to entertain. So are the players. Are we grooming them in the right manner? Do we have an identity? KCCA, fortunately, the club that I support, has an identity.
The KCCA way.
Whereas we have not been very
Sometimes
consistent.
it disappears.
Yes, but the identity is there, it is known. And most of us who have supported the club and who have stayed there, it is because of that. So we need to emphasize that, and we need to hire in respect to what it is that we are and are known for. And that should cut across all the clubs. The second is football, the business. Understanding that running a football club is no longer a charity organization. Running the football club is making sure that you can actually be able to make money out of it. And again, the question is, the CEOs we have around the game, how many of them understand what a P&L is? How many of them understand what it is to market and to grow a brand? How many of them understand what they need to be able to attract sponsorship? How many of them understand what it means to build a squad? Like we discussed before, is that if I have Andrew at 18 and Clive at 27, and this is the money that I have for squad building, what decision do I need to make? How many of them have the relationships and the connections to be able to turn over these players for better money, for greener pastures? So the networks, who understands that? How many CEOs and club chairmen are a phone call away from a CEO of Pepsi, of Citibank, of Standard Chartered Bank, to be able to speak to them about football, to position it where it is required for people to be able to say, I can put my money there. Now, these conversations we do not have in football. And unfortunately, the people who are in the game currently cannot grow this value because they don't have these competencies. They are not there. We shall cry, we shall come and hear and lament and do this, but for as long as we do not change that and we cannot attract the people who can be able to grow this, the industry is going to remain stagnant.
Why are we in this position? Yet there is a lot of football education going on, especially at the front of administration.
So I've had that conversation again also with the FIFA president, and I said that the people we are attracting for the courses, most of them do not add value to the game. You'd rather go and pick a university graduate and be able to teach them the things that they need to do, as opposed to Zendiwa Mpira. That's one. But also two, the game must start positioning itself where it matters most. So if you think that you're going to grow within your own industry without associating and networking and building all these synergies, then you're in the wrong profession. So you have a CEO, and unfortunately, I have to say this, who you cannot put across a CEO of, let me say, Stanchart, to have a conversation. They cannot. And those are 90% or 95% of the people involved in the game.
Yeah.
He cannot sit across the table to speak to MTN, to speak to Pepsi, to speak to Coca-Cola. And then you say that the game has failed to attract sponsorship. Money only goes where it can grow. It is as simple as that.
Agree.
And then the third thing is the football, the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is basically the legal and regulatory framework of the country, the politics around it, and all the things that affect other industries. How do we evaluate them for the benefit of sport or football? The laws. And for example, the other day we were having a conversation around tax waivers. So if you look at betting, for example, so betting, for you to get a license, there's a certain portion, I think it's 10 or 15% that should go to CSR. For you to have a license from the national regulatory something and something. How is football benefiting from that?
Yeah.
If, for example, we said, listen, anyone who brings money into the game, out of, say, your 100 million that you contribute, say, to KCCA or any other football club, how much of that, at your end of year tax computation, we shall deduct that amount? So these are the conversations we need to have. But who are the people who can have them? The people that you have around the game, on radio stations and TV stations, abusing people and making profanities, they are not growing the game. They don't add any value at all. So until we go for competence and meritocracy, because football is not any different from banking, it's not different from NTV, it's not different from beverages. What makes those businesses successful?
Professional.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's no rocket science, but we just don't want to put in the work.
Agree. I know you'll say you don't have to be at a certain place for you to work, but listening to you and the value that you bring to the game, have you considered taking charge to lead the game?
No. I have not considered, and I don't think presidents of the federation would be something that's exciting for me. I'd prefer to contribute where there's best value. And for me, I think, because the reason why we have the conversation around leadership of the federation is because the league and all the other facets of the game have actually failed. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having that conversation.
Yeah.
No. But the reason why we're having conversation around presidency is because football clubs are not efficient, because the FA technically is a regulator. It's just a regulator.
Not a manager.
No, they're just a regulator. That is all that they do, or they are supposed to do. And the regulator usually interfaces with the people within the industry. They're the ones who come up with ideas and they say, listen, we'd like to do this, we'd like to do that. If you change the law in this manner, it will help us to do this. These are the outcomes, this would be the benefits, and they will do that. We do it in private sector, and we engage government, who is a regulator for most of the things that we do, and we work very well in harmony on the same, which is not the same with football. So,
yeah.
That's the conversation that really does not make sense for me. I would prefer, because why should I be interested in regulation? No. I'd prefer to go and set up a football club, see how it is transforming people, how it is giving income to young boys and women, how it is building families, how people are making a living out of it, and the fun that comes with winning trophies.
Okay. All right, goodness Lord. Like I said, this conversation was never going to end. And
There can probably be a part two.
Yeah, we need to think about that. We need to think about that so much, because our time